This ridiculous looking man in waders, well, that's me. I'm a freelancer. I work with people like Ollie from Mumbo Jumbo.
Importantly, what's at stake?
I teach film at university 4 days a week.
Can you drive?
And like you probably, I write and direct commercials and short films. I'm also a teacher on Skillshare, and when I can, I try and make some YouTube videos. It's a lot to pack into a day, but I'm a bit of a night owl. So I also learn Mandarin in the evenings.
我是语言
And recently I've been trying to get back to being healthy and fit. With everything going on, I needed a system to keep my life together. I've used Notion for a few years to stay on top of things. A few years ago, I made a project management template that you all seem to love, but recently I've been thinking it could be better. So I got to work building a new one. Today I'm going to walk you through what I've created. If you like it, it's available in the link below, but if you're just curious, then just stick around. Okay, so here it is. I've just put in some fake projects for now rather than showing you my actual projects because, you know, client confidentiality, all that. But this is what it looks like. So we have our homepage where you have your menu, and this is in every page that you go into. And if you wanted to, you could actually make it smaller or bigger depending on what size it is that you're looking at. So this is the main part, right? This is our projects, and I'll get into a bit more about this in a minute. But what we have is all of your projects ordered in most recent in quite a nice visual layout, or you can see it in a table layout, or if you want, you could go through by hard drive. So within these projects, you can tell it what hard drive you've saved it on, and that way, when you need to find something later on, you can just see where it is. You've also got over here a way of looking at them by what stage they're at. So all of these are currently in pitching. If I was to change one, and I'll come back to this page a little bit more later, is now in production. So the best way for me to show you what a project looks like is to create a new one from scratch, because this is how it will look if you choose to purchase this and make it your own. So just give it a little moment to load up. Whilst it's doing that, I can rename it. So let's call it Notion Video. Let's pretend that I'm making a video for Notion. Wouldn't that be nice? So what you notice is straight away in the client, you can choose or you can add a new one. So I've already got Notion, so I'm just going to click there, but you could type in a new client and then I'll show you the client page a little bit later. This page doesn't contain anything that is best that only you see, such as your accounts. This is for what the client can see. So the whole point is you can share this with a client. And I know some of you will be thinking, well, you can't give a client access to one page in your database. You can, I'm going to show you how. But before that, let me show you through it. So what we have, first thing you see is your pitch deck. This is just a template from Canva, but I always do my pitch decks in Canva. And what's nice is you can just embed a link. So you could come up to replace, paste your own public URL Canva pitch deck link and put it in. I think this is really useful because sometimes clients tend to forget what was actually agreed up front. It's nice to have that visual reminder for everyone that this was what was set out. These are the expectations for yourself as well. Then we have what's coming up in the next 7 days, and this is not for you to necessarily add something here. I'll show you why in a minute. And then we have tasks. So if you want to just have, let's say a new task is, I don't know, email Judy, whoever Judy is. And you could give that assignment to your client if you want, or you could just leave it for yourself. It might be tomorrow. Is it important? Yes, really important. So now I have it in this urgent tab. I can press complete and then it disappears. And it actually does go into the all tasks. So you can always come back to it, see that it's there. But it's nice to just have things kind of swiping off. Right, then we get to the creative and the project timeline. I'll maybe come back to the creative because this here, what this does is automatically gives you probably the things that you're going to want. So kickoff meeting, storyboard sign off, script sign off, version 1, version 2, version 3, final delivery, audio mix, etc. If I was to put my kickoff meeting is, actually let's put next week, 6 days. Okay, so this says you've got 6 days remaining. This is now up here because it's within 7 days. If it wasn't in 7 days, it wouldn't be here. If you give it a time, so let's say this is due sooner for some reason, and we include a time, let's put, perhaps it's a 3 p.m. meeting. it now breaks it down into the days, hours, and minutes for you. So as things kind of get closer to crunch time, you'll get a bit more information. These are the things that after 10 years of freelancing or making films, these are the most important ones you can have. If you decide you don't want some of these, you can just delete them or you can rename them to whatever you want. And you'll notice they also pop over here in the calendar. So if you do want to create something new, you can either create it in the calendar or in the list. There's also a timeline view if you prefer timeline. I actually don't really like the timeline view that much, if I'm honest, but it's there for those of you that do. I much prefer calendar view. And the thing with this is you might be thinking, well, how do I keep track of all of these projects, all of these things by going into the projects and seeing their calendars? I need to see a master calendar. This is why you have Notion Calendar, because when you press open in calendar, then now over here, this is what this one is. So it's called Rename Me. So what I should have done and what I will make sure is there is this title is always here. So this says Rename Me, right? So now you know, okay, I need to rename this as book launch, the name of the project, and then you can hide it again so you don't need to see it. So this is the same data effectively. So now in my Notion calendar, it's popped up here and you can see that it's highlighted, so it is linked. So if I was to put something in, let's say tomorrow, then there it is. And then if you have another project, so we come back out, let's do architecture firm. Let's say this storyboard sign off is happening Saturday. And again, sorry, I should have made this so you can see it right here straight away. It's called Rename Me, right? So I'm going to rename this, what's it called? So I'm going to rename this architecture firm, was it? Yeah. And now, opening calendar pops up here. And then just make sure that little eye icon is on. And because I've only got this Monday to Friday, I need to make it so I can see the weekend as well. How do I do that? Here we go, show weekends. Okay, and there it is. So now I have all of my events in one calendar, the Notion calendar. This is also an app you can get on your phone and you can tie it together with Gmail, Google Calendar. So yeah, this is how you keep track of all your projects at the same time in one master calendar. And you can see here I put a link for it. So you can always just click on that link to go straight to your Notion calendar. And then below that, you have a place that your client can upload a document if it's 5 megabytes as a maximum. You could make that more if you have a paid version of Notion, but everything I'm showing you, you can do for free. So if you wanted a place for your client to upload a document here, you can, or of course, they could just email that to you. Same for you, if you want to upload some here. And I'm giving you some examples of what that might be. Things that are more likely to be project specific, but things that you kind of already have ready as a template. Right, so now we come back up to the creative. And again, you can choose how you see this. You might prefer it in different ways. You could, if you wanted, you could come up to the layout and change it so you see an image. So I've put an image over all of these for you. I've actually kind of come away from wanting that, although you can change it to a small size so it all sits within one nice one. I'll leave it like that for now so you can see it. So in the development, this here is the place where you can just put anything as you're developing the concept. So I would probably put the brief and the pitch again, if you've not got it in the previous one or whatever. Then your storyboards and your script. So this is the development of the idea. And when you're finished, you can just tick finalize and then everybody knows you have finalized it. Again, I have this turned off, but if you wanted, you could have this finalized tick here. So that's an option, right? Naturally it's turned off, but if you want it turned on, you can do that. So once you kind of got your development, you've got your script and your storyboards, breakdown and schedule is next. And you might go, well, why? Surely it might be like finding locations or whatever. The whole point of a breakdown is to go through your script and to make a list of every scene, every prop, every location, every actor needed. Because that becomes really important when you're scheduling, but it also makes sure that you have all the information. And what I've done, and it took me a bit of time, but I'm so happy I figured this out, is I have a way now of going through, adding in all the scenes, and then it will put things where they need to be and kind of help me schedule getting ready for a call sheet. So what this looks like, let's say scene 1, it's on page 1, the film location, let's say it's a swimming pool, right? So I'm going to add swimming pool. Okay, great. The scene description, what happens? Someone dives into the pool. Who's needed? Perhaps our cast member is called Jack, and Jack is needed. How long? Let's say 4 hours to shoot it. And what day we're going to shoot it on. So let's say day 1. So I can add this on day 1, but you don't have to do this one just yet. This is just there. Are there any key props that's needed? Well, let's say some swimming goggles. And then we can leave the shot list empty for now. Let's just do another one whilst we're here. Let's do scene 2, page 2. It's now indoors. It's in a big manor house. What happens? Someone dries off from swimming. And perhaps 2 people are needed for this, Jack and Payne. How long is it going to take? It's going to take 3 hours. If I come to the schedule, here, what it's doing is it's adding up all the hours whenever they're on the same shooting day. So if I did now put this on day 1, over here is adding it up. So on day 1, we have 7 hours worth of filming to do. This is not your call sheet. This is just to get everything together for you, the producer, the director, the production designer, everyone to know where and what is needed if you want to share this with them, or just you and the client, or just you. So what's nice, just by putting these bits of detail in, because you're just going to go through the script and just make a note of everything that you're seeing. So I could add more props for that first one. Maybe the towel is also needed. So I'll add that. Now when we come down, every character, we can see what scenes are needed and what day they're needed. And for the locations, we can now figure out, okay, this is what is the plan, and you can go in and you can start searching for your locations. So I want to look for some swimming pools. So I come into swimming pool, and here there's just this kind of template waiting for you. So you might add something, let's say my local swimming pool. So you're going to put in the actual address there, my local swimming pool. Shortlist, yeah, we really like it. It costs 500 a day. Permission is pending, and their contact name and their email and their phone numbers there for you to write in. What you can do is if you come in and use add an image, so ideally you'd be obviously adding one that you find, one that you actually take. But for now, let's just find one unsplash. So swimming pool. Yeah, look at this one. All right, so I've thrown that in there. So now, if you or client was to come to the swimming pool, they can see all the options with an image if you want to quickly look through. And in fact, I will change this. So there's also the property of shortlist, yes or no. And there's the board. So as you start adding more things, you'll get a pending, no, yes column. And then you can just move things in between. So if you do or don't want things in your shortlist. So you have your locations here. You have your actors here. If I come down below, prop list, right? So now your production designer can come in and they can see, okay, these are all the props I need. These are the scene numbers. Maybe you want to upload a reference image there. How many are needed? They can tick if it's been found. They know what day it's on. Costume, I've just put it as its own thing. But let's say, okay, so I need some swimming shorts. They need to be red. When I click on scene, now any scene that I've noted up above will turn up. So I can press scene 1. It automatically tells you what shooting day that's linked to. So if this changed, if I actually decided to do this not on day 1, so I take that off and instead do day 2. Okay. So what happens now, you'll see in the schedule, it's now split it again. It's no longer on one day. As I come down, it's updating that information, but it still tells you Jack is needed on day 1 and day 2, because if Jack is needed in this other scene on day 1, he's needed for both. and then this gets updated for your production designer. Same thing with the costume. So it's all linked and live, which means any change you make in any of them really, but if you focus on making any changes in the top one, then what that means is everything kind of filters down through. So when I come down to the shooting schedule bit at the bottom, what you have is a link to a website that can create a call sheet for you. And then you have all of your days split. So right now we've got 2 days, but actually maybe we don't need 2 days and we can do it all in one. So I'm going to take this off and I'm going to add it back up here. So you can see, okay, day one, we've got 2 scenes to do, 7 hours to do it. These are the locations. This is who's needed. These are the props. Now you can go in and create a call sheet that you're going to send around to everyone. So this is the breakdown and schedule combined. And sure, the schedule might come later, but you need to do the breakdown pretty early on in your production flow. That way you can figure out what you're going to need and when and who and why. So what's nice in my mind is now when you come into your locations page, all the locations from your production will have flown in here. So your client can click on one and they can see all of your locations. And you can go through this together and you can shortlist your locations together and figure out what you want, but it's all here. And then if you want to look at it in a table way as well, you can. This is all here ready for you to kind of figure out how you like to work, but it's all linked together. In my first version, everything was separate, which worked fine, but I realized it's so nice having things just automatically update. So that's what I've done in this version. Everything should kind of flow together. Okay, we've only got 2 days, 2 hours, 7 minutes left till storyboard sign off. Right then. Casting and crew. So this is broken down into 2 different areas. One area is for casting, finding your actors, and the other is for the crew, but the full company and getting those details that you're going to need later on. But let's start with the casting. So you can see Jack and Payne from the production we're working on, but if we want to create a new casting, we can come in and we can type the character. So let's say the character is going to be called George. And then you will see what opens up is we have an application form, an in tray, and then a shortlist. So the idea is you don't necessarily need to have these 2 things separate. You could just have all the responses, but sometimes you're going to want to send out applications via Backstage or Spotlight or wherever. So if you wanted to bring other places in, so rather than just having Notion forms, if you want to bring in different application sites, you can bring those details in here. But if we start off with the application form, what this is a way now through Notion Forms to just send out an application directly to everyone. So when you come in, I've written these 3 things here just to remind you of what to do. But the first thing is you're going to have to always change this to anyone on the web, because when you create a new form, it automatically keeps it private for you, but you're just saying it's okay, you can make this public. So come in and then add in the details of the project. I'll just put the dates for now, just as an example. But you'd fill that all in and then you would share this. So if I preview it, then you can see what a potential actor might see. So what they get is those details there again, and then they get this form. So I'll fill it out quickly, pretending I'm the actor. Let's give me a different name. Let's go with Trevor T. Okay, and I'm just going to upload a quick headshot. Fill in a link to my showreel, or in this case, it's my website. Let's put a little fake email in there for now. Okay, confirm they're available during the shooting dates. So great. If they have an agent, they might want to give you those details. I'm going to say NA, not applicable. And then a space for them to ask you any questions they might have. So are you providing costume? Below that, we have project file storage and long-term file storage. Project, obviously, you have to keep those details throughout the duration of the project whilst you're making that shortlisting selection. So need to agree to that. Long-term file storage, if you want to keep their details for a future project, because of GDPR, you have to be giving them express permission, or they have to be giving you express permission to be able to do that. So if they say no, you know that means at the end of the project, you need to delete all of their details. So when they submit, they will see this page where they can send a copy of their responses to you. Then for yourself, back in your application, when you go to the character page, what you've now got is that in your in tray. You could click in and then see those details there, But the idea is you drag this down here, and now you have a place to collect all of those actors for that character. And what it means is you know instantly if you've got new people submitting their application. So for you, you can have this here. And the first one is literally just a drag and drop, same sort of layout. After that is review, where their headshot will make up the thumbnail. You'll get the name and then their link to a show reel. And then you can go in and shortlist, and you might do this with your client. So you can very quickly go, no, don't want them. Yes, let's shortlist them, have an audition, and yeah, let's confirm them. And if you wanted to see all the details, you can come over here and see it all. And then you might decide later on you want to add a few more details. You might ask them where they're based or whatever. So when I come back to this page, I've now got my 3 separate characters, and within each of those pages, all the actors applying. So fantastic, you've chosen who the actors are going to be. Now we can come down and really build out the company. So you're probably going to be coming up with your crew pretty quickly. For that, you can press the button, or you can do it directly in here. Or for your cast members, once you've decided who that person is, then you can add their actual name to this spreadsheet. So these are all technically one spreadsheet because your crew and your cast will go into the full company. So if I give an example, let's say I'm going to be directing this project. If I add director, so you can see I've added a whole list of different roles. That's the only category I'm going to fill out for now. If I want to do a cast member, if I press this button, it will automatically assign them as cast. And let's say we've hired, I don't know, who did we see? Trevor. So we picked Trevor as our actor. Once this is all filled out, maybe I'll just add one more. Let's go with Sarah. She's going to be our producer. Right, so I've got my full company here. This is where we're going to send out this welfare form. So first thing you need to do is make sure you've changed this so it is public. Now the whole point of this is too often we forget to think about people's welfare, and this is a form for all of your crew and cast to fill out just to let you know about any allergies, food preferences, emergency contact details, and if they want, don't have to fill it out, mental or physical health declaration. In here I've said if you'd rather just contact us directly, do that. So you share the form, again, if I just preview for now, what they'll see is anyone you've put in will show up here. So I can click, okay, I'm Aram or I'm Trevor, and you can see it only lets you pick one. So if I was to say, okay, I'm Aram, I'm allergic to pollen and cats and, I don't know, dogs, and my food preferences, pescatarian, emergency contact, dad on 00001111110, sure, and nothing to declare. Submit. Back over in Notion, when you go to your casting and crew page, so in your full company spreadsheet, you can see any key information that you need to have for your catering or your producer, or if something goes wrong, your first aider. This is something we should be doing more of, and I've built this in to try and encourage that in myself as well. I was a first aider as well as being the director on my last project. Having this meant that should something happen, I can quickly know exactly where that information is on who's allergic to what, and any notes that they might have given me. So that is your casting and crew page. Right, so I've done my breakdown, my locations, my casting and crew. Come to my shot list. What I have here is a place for you to start creating your shots and your equipment list. So let's say you're hiring some equipment. For example, I'm hiring an Aram Mini. I'm hiring 3 of them because I'm really like that. It's going to be in the camera department. So the supplier is, let's say, Aram. Any notes? Get a good deal. Then we can come down by supplier. So that means whoever is collecting this equipment, when they go there, they can just see, okay, here's all the details I need, everything I need to make sure I'm getting with notes, right? Or by department. So it might be that your camera, your lighting, your sound, your grip, they're all getting things from different places, or lots of things from different places, and you want them just to see what they're responsible for. So that's really nice and easy. And I use this a lot actually because whenever I rent stuff out, I always end up needing to double check, shall we say. Then here, you can go in, okay, scene 1. The location is a swimming pool. We're shooting it on day 1, and this will update. If things change, then you will know, oh, this is now on day 2. Shot action is for you to describe. So as a DP, you might go long shot of Jack jumping into pool. The reason I've not duplicated this over from the scene description is a shot action might be slightly different, more technical. If you have a lighting diagram, you can upload it here. If you want to think about, yeah, okay, it's going to be an extreme wide, it's going to be level, normal angle, and then leave the shot number for a while. And then you can come in and, okay, scene 2, Manor House, we have a tracking shot through glass doors. Again, add a lighting plan. It's going to be a mid, it's going to be low angle, get the power. The reason you should leave the shot number to the end is these numbers stick with this. So if you decide actually you want to change the order in which you're doing things, you want to make sure, well, this is shot 1 now, not shot 2. So once you've figured it all out, then you can go and add all of your shots. And it tells you at the end, if you just want to see it, how many shots you have, but also you'll know because from the shot number. So this is more for your DP and just for you creating as a director or whatever, more of the creative side. So for me, I like to think about my productions very much like logistically and creatively combined, but still be able to separate them out. So my producer can go in here and think a bit more about who needs to be where, whilst me as a director, DP, can have a creative discussion about, okay, we know we're here for that time, we know who's needed, how are we shooting it? All right, so you've done all of that, you go and you shoot your film, and then what? Here, so you don't have to do this, but this is a page where you can add in a link. So you might upload it to Vimeo or something, the date you're meant to deliver it, and the day that you expect feedback to come back from. Now, I tried for a while with adding things like tables for timecode comments and things like that. But actually, if I'm being honest, the best thing to do, if I go all the way back to my home page, down the bottom, I've put in here, these are some different video review tools. So you probably have heard of frame.io, or Vimeo does a review account. Markup is free and doesn't require the client to sign up to an account. You might only get like a couple of videos or a max length or something, but not length, a max file size. So what that means is you, rather than asking the client to manually add in the time code, you just put the link. You upload your video into Markup and you put that link back in here. You just put the link there. So they click on the link and then they can go in, they can just review it, and then nice and easy. And then when you deliver it, you can deliver it here or WeTransfer or however you're doing it. So that is how one project looks, right? So this whole Notion template is more than about projects, but this is part of it. The two hidden properties here, one is the invoices. So I'll come to invoicing in a little bit, but the other one is hard drive. So if you put your hard drive names in here and you do that, if I just hide that again now. So now it's there, you can see it. When I come back to home, it tells you there, and also if I go back here, Lacey 1, this project is in that hard drive. Now, how do you share a project with a client without them coming back into this page here? Because normally what happens is you come in and you share it, and then when you share it, they still see these breadcrumbs up here. So they can come back and they can come back and they can come back until they get to here. That's not what you want. And for the longest time, there's been this kind of threads online of people getting really frustrated and there's no way to do it. I figured it out. And it's so simple, it's really annoying. So lock your sidebar in. Drag your project across over here. Then here, the one thing is you have to, everyone you're going to share it with, you need to know up front so you can share them now, because it's hard to bring people in, because every time you want to bring someone in, you're going to have to do what I'm showing you, but again for everyone. So you bring it in, now you share it. So you share it via email. Once they've accepted and you've got everyone in, then go back to your homepage and drag it back in. And now when they go in, they will see this, but they won't be able to get back to your hub, your homepage. And I've tried it multiple times because I'm nervous that it's something that only works for me, but it's worked a lot. So that is how to circumnavigate the breadcrumb issue. So over here on the menu, what we have is we have our home, which is this page. We have our projects, which is just the list of the projects, right? So it's the same thing as what you have here. And then we have accounts, invoicing, and clients. So I'm going to come down to clients first. Here, you could add a new client. Let's call them, I don't know, YouTube. And my contact there is Eugene. Not spelled like that, but whatever. You can add their email. If there's a project that is being created that is linked to them, you can find that here, or you could add a new project. Let's say they are behind the book launch. Give them an experience out of 10. How good were they? Maybe they were 5, not very good. And why not? Did they pay on time, early, late? They paid late. And invoices, I'm going to leave that just for a minute. So, okay, I've now created a client. If I come over to my invoicing and I create a new invoice, so I'm invoicing YouTube, and the project they worked on was the book launch, and the amount was £3,000. And you put the due date and things here. This is not to create an invoice. I've tried for a while to create invoices in Notion, and the reality is it's just not a very good approach to doing it. There's too many issues. What I will do is in the home page down the bottom, I will add some really great places to have your invoices made, because there's loads of free websites online where you can create invoices that will track it and be a lot more accurate. But the reason I put this is so now if I go back to my clients, I can see what invoices are related to that person. If I come to home, and let's say I go to the book launch, I can now see which invoice and which client is linked to that. But most importantly, if I come down, I now have my revenue for this tax year versus my outgoings, right? So how much am I making based on that information I'm adding versus how much I'm spending? And the spending is based off your accounts. I'll be honest, I actually do all my accounts through an accounting software. I'm a limited company, I have an accountant. I personally don't actually have the need for this. This is my project system plus bits that people might find useful. So like I say, the accounts I actually don't do in Notion. I do my accounts through another bit of software, but you have to pay for that software. So if you don't want to pay, this is the way. This is the way. So your account is all of your costs, right? So maybe it's something like Artlist, for instance, you're paying for a subscription or mileage or whatever. So this first table is all of your accounts. These are all linked. So the next one will show you just the mileage that you're doing. The next one will be subscriptions. And the final one is not linked to the rest because this is all about budgeting. So I think for me, it's really important to keep the financial side away from the client because you might be marking things up, right? You might have people coming in and you're adding a bit on top, as is the norm, but you don't have to show the client that information. So if you want to create a budget, this will come up. It won't be filled out. I filled this one out already, be empty. But this here is a place for you to think about the budget, maybe even the pitching place when you're figuring out how much. So what am I going to buy? Costume. Costume is going to cost £400. I need one of them. And I'm going to add on a 10% fee, right? Great, fantastic. I now have my number there. So this budget one is simply about you figuring things out for you. But the rest, if I give you an example, all of these here, so if I go back to home, if you want to do things quickly, you've got any expenses you want to add with this button or mileage here. This is a reminder, so if you want to add a reminder. So down below, you can see I've got an urgent reminder, which is to film this Notion video. So I'm doing that, so I can tick that, and it's gone. And these are for projects and the original stuff that I'm going to come to shortly. So let's start with mileage. It straight away tags it as mileage and puts in the 0.45 pence per mile, which that's in the UK. It might be different for you. If this is different, maybe you want to change this to dollars, right? So you can come in, you press this one, you edit property, change that to dollar if you want. There is also the rule that after, I think it's like 10,000 miles or 20,000 miles, that this changes to 25p per mile, but I've never hit that. So, you know, that's a problem for later. Okay, so how many miles did I do? I did 130. That tells me it's £58.50, and the trip I did was to Book Club and back. So the project is related to is the book launch. All right, so you can see here, it's now added that, right? And then down here, it's come in the mileage as well. So this is just mileage. This is important because at the end of the tax year, you need to tell the government how much you've spent, and you need to keep track of all of that with receipts, and mileage is often deemed a separate thing. So this is how you can create a new expense or a new trip. But with subscriptions, it's ever so slightly different. So if you wanted to create a new subscription, what you want to do is create something. So you can see here I've got Canva. So if I click that, it's down to the subscription. I can put the cost in, £11 for instance, and then what you do is you state, okay, this repeats. Is it every month, every week, every day, every year, and when? So you save that, and then what that means is this time every month that will create a new one for you. Now all of this, so you can then go in and see how much you're paying on each project if you want to track it that way. Then you can come in and do it by tax year. So this is the key bit where there's a little bit more work for you in a sense, in that this is giving you the dates from any expenses you do from the last April the 6th till the coming April the 5th, because all of these have this one here, out 24/25. So every time you create a new expense, it automatically is adding this one here. Now, when the tax year ends, what you need to do, so you want to do a new template in which you relate this to out 25/26, or you create a new one out 26/27, whatever it is. So I could just link it like that for now. And then you would make that one, whichever one it was, this one here, your default. So you'd probably rename it the year, right? So this here, the whole point of it is it links back here. So you can keep a track throughout the year how much you're spending. All your expenses are here. And in the table, you've got this here. So if you have a new tax year, you would add it here. And the same thing with the in on your invoices. This might seem confusing. This is kind of why I'd generally, like, it's not confusing. You do it once and that's it for the year. So here you would change the template to be in 25/26. But it's as simple as that. So when the tax day starts and ends, so the 5th and 6th of April, that's your one job is in your invoices and in your expenses, change it to the new in and out. So you create a new in and out and then change those templates to match this, whatever it is. That way you can also kind of keep a track year on year how you're doing. So I can see this year I'm making £5,000. Next year I'm making nothing, right? But you can kind of track your progress through the years. So that's all of the more like business accounting side of things. But for me, Notion is primarily, it's about creative inspiration, sparking those ideas, tracking those ideas. And this is where YouTube narrative, documentary, and courses comes in. You can see up here, these symbols relate. So this is a new project, this is new YouTube, this is new narrative, new documentary, new course. So these are all similar but slightly different. If I click on YouTube, what I have here is I have some of your favorite YouTubers and mine. And then I have ideas. So if I have a new idea, this idea might be Notion take 2, let's say. Oh, bloody hell, take 2. The topic, right? Maybe it's tech, maybe you create your own topics, whatever it is. If you have a thumbnail here or the URL once you've made the video here. First box, thumbnail idea. This is to help you make you aware that you need to think about that early. If you want to write a script, you can write it here, blah, 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 blah. This bit is to try and make you think about story in your YouTube videos. So what's the start of it? What's the status quo? What's at stake? What's the inciting incident? This is fun and games, right? How are you going to make it fun in that journey up to the midpoint where things start to go like a bit wrong, whatever, and then the climax. Story structure, if you don't know it, leave a comment and maybe I'll make a video on it. But story structure should come through in your videos as well. So this is your YouTube page. Then if I go back to home and I come down to narrative, very similar, right? So I have an idea. The format is going to be a short film. The genre is going to be a drama. The log line, when Notion takes over the world, Aram celebrates. The synopsis, you kind of lay out the beats of your story. Same thing here, right? We've got our plot. A bit about characters. So who are your characters? How do they relate to each other? What's their wants, their needs? And then when you come back out here, oh, I didn't give a name. Oops, what's the film called? No, Chan. So now I have this information here. I could also go in and see my ideas by genre, whether it's a short or if it's feature or series, it's all there. Okay, moving swiftly on. Documentaries, you see where I'm going with this? It's very, very similar. The only difference with this one is down the bottom, I put research, where if you want to like throw in just some kind of key bits of information for yourself, you might have a website that's useful, put the link in there. Otherwise, it's very, very much the same. And courses, a little different. So when you click on a new course, here, it's all about, okay, well, this is for you making a course, I should say. So I make a lot of courses. This is why it's here. So I just drag that down, depending how many lessons I'm having. Okay, what's the lesson title? It's Introduction to Notion. Key points, how to install Notion, ideas to engage, wear clown, outfit, estimated length, 2 minutes. And then if you go, actually I want that later on, you can just drag that down. So then you have all your courses here, right, that you're making. So this is for you creating. This is a creator's template. That said, there's more. Down here in the resources page, what I have is learning and notes. And this is for you if you are taking a course or you're just making notes on equipment. You might recognize this from my first template. If you're taking a course like this one, you can come in and you can just make all of your notes there. So you've always got them to come back to. You can see here I've put the link for each one. So these are 2 of my classes, but you might have your own courses that you're wanting to take, right? So this is just a way of keeping a track of all of that. The other things that we have in the resources, the actor call out you've already seen, that was a template. I've just put it here as well as a backup. A purchase list, if you want to be buying things and just keeping an eye on that. So for instance, I've put these as regular suppliers for me, but you might have your own ones, especially if you're not in the UK. I've put links to like my favorite resources to kind of go back to regularly. Stable documents, this is if you've got any of your own documents, you just want a place to like throw them, right? Hence why it's empty. And then you may have noticed onboarding form. The idea behind this is a form if someone is interested in working with you, but maybe they've not come to you with a specific brief or anything, or they don't really know what they're doing, then you can send them this form to fill out. So this form asks them for their company name, website, contact emails, etc., then a few questions I think are helpful. So what are you looking for? We honestly don't know. We just like your stuff and want to chat. A simple, short one-off job, involvement in a campaign piece, a couple of things, let's have a chat over Zoom, a retainer, right? That'd be great. Or an agency level partner to manage all things creative. How much are you looking to spend? I've added this here just to make it clear that, like, generally speaking, projects can be scaled up or down, but it does help to know how much you are wanting to spend. But they have the option there to really kind of tap into what works for them. These are price ranges that I've generally found kind of feel like similar ballparks. A project from 1 to 5K can be very similar, but a project from 1K to 10K can feel quite different. So these are those ones there. If they have a project brief, they can upload it if it's less than 5 megabytes, or they can send it over on an email, whatever. If they have a link, they can put it there instead. This is just to make sure they've thought about all the deliverables that you're actually going to have to produce, because you know what it's like. They ask for one thing and then they want 20. If they have any brand guidelines, here's a place to upload that. And I will just reformat this. I realized afterwards I'd forgotten to do it like this. So it should be like this one, where they have to tick this to say, I understand that no work will be undertaken until terms and conditions have been agreed and signed. So if you have terms and conditions, which you should have, you should try and get that signed beforehand, because that helps in case they don't pay. And then also a similar question about data storage, GDPR, and anything they want to ask you. So all of that information will come here. The one thing I will say that I haven't figured out is I don't think you can get a notification to say when they've submitted unless you're paying for Notion. It seems a little bit stupid, that, but it is what it is. So it's not something I just put online, like on my website. It's more of a thing I send to people if they kind of want to work together. I'm like, okay, we'll fill this out, and then I'll check in and see when you've replied. So if you know you're expecting something, you can just kind of come back and check in on it. That said, I did create this welcome page. If you want this, then this is, you will drag this into your big sidebar over here, because if you share it from here, then people will be able to come back into this page, which is not what you want. So drag this out over here. And what this is, it's just if you wanted to make it a little bit nicer what you're sending them, here's a suggestion as to how. Obviously you'd replace this with your own video. So, hello there, thanks so much for wanting to work together. If it's your first time working with me, then let me just quickly introduce myself in this 3-minute video. So here, you would put a video of yourself, being like, hey, I'm Aram, lovely to meet you, blah, blah, blah. Before we get stuck into the project, please fill out this onboarding form, the same form that you saw on the previous page. Want to see how I've worked with a client in the past? Here, I put a pitch deck of a project that I pitched on and won, and then the resulting video, right? So they can see the kind of results. And if you want, you could add a link to this. So you come in and you press Command K, and then you can, hello there, then you can put in your email address or whatever it is, that, or link to LinkedIn. I've left them unlinked so you don't forget and then it accidentally takes them to my page, because that wouldn't be great for you. Okay. And then down below, I've just added a bit about using this template and a couple of tips on just like writing in general. And yeah, and I believe that's not it. Oh my God, I've done so much for you, for me, for everyone. Okay, very quickly. Career path, this here, if I full screen that, this is very simply just a place for you to put a goal and a deadline, right? So you can keep a track of what your goals are. And your end of year review is a place for you to reflect at the end of every year. So if I was to do a new year review, I'm going to call this one 2024, and I'm going to do it, okay, let's say I'm doing it today, right? What I've put is at the start, some helplines in case you're not feeling great. I know that the end of the year can be a difficult time for many freelancers or filmmakers or people. So here are just some helplines, right? Not that I'm saying you need it, but it's there if you want it. And then we've got these 3 areas here. So personal growth, gratitude next year. And this is just a place for you to kind of celebrate what you've done well. celebrate other people who have helped you and remember to go thank them, and to plan for next year. So they're very, very small things, those ones. And that is it. Okay, so the store will just take you to my website because I haven't got a store yet, but you know, who knows, maybe in the future. But if you enjoyed that and if you like this template, then you can download it below, and I will put on a discount code for the first however long I decide, maybe a month or something. So yeah, that's my Notion workspace. I am also, I'm still kind of like fine tuning it before I make a video about it, but I'm doing a Notion like life space where I just kind of make sure I'm just focusing and getting everything going outside of work. So yeah, hope you enjoyed that. If you did, tell me. All right, have a lovely day, and I'll see you soon.